This is Will Buchanan on the Walk for Liberty. Today is August 30th, 2008, day 122. Although I didn't see a sign for it as we came in from the west, it's my understanding that we've been on an Indian reservation for the last 100 or so miles since about Lemon, South Dakota. I'm about to walk across a nearly mile-long bridge which crosses the Missouri River. I'm also crossing time zones. I unfortunately forgot to push the lap button as I started crossing, but I think when I started it was at about 8.9, so it was either right at a mile or just shy of a mile. That was kind of a crazy experience. There wasn't much of a shoulder as I was going across, as you may have seen, and the wind was very strong. Fortunately, it wasn't really a crosswind, it was more blowing straight at me, so there didn't seem to be much risk of being blown over. Also, the traffic was relatively light, and the people that did pass me were pretty nice and gave me lots of space. I'm sure it was probably a pretty nice view too, but unfortunately I couldn't really concentrate on that much. There was a guy that had actually offered me a ride across the bridge right before I started crossing. Maybe it would have been wise to have taken him up on it, but I want to walk every step of the way across the country. I did make it out alive though, and I'm sure that's an experience I won't soon forget. I mentioned yesterday how the area heading into Mobridge seemed to be really friendly, since at least 7 different people offered me rides. However, one of them actually had a bit of an attitude. He was nice enough at first. However, when I offered him my business card, he said, "Oh, you're one of those hotshots coming through our country, huh?" I said, "I didn't know about that. I was just walking." I kind of wish now, though, that I had played around with him a little and said something like, "Oh wow, so you own all the land around here?" I'm not really sure why many people often refer to property that they don't own in collective terms, as if they really do have some kind of partial ownership of it. Perhaps it goes back to tribal times, when there wasn't yet a well-defined concept of property ownership. You might be thinking at this point that I'm being too hard on that guy, that he didn't literally mean our country, i.e. that he had some kind of say or control even over land that he doesn't own. But I wouldn't be too sure about that, since that's what people who are in favor of the federal government restricting immigration do in fact believe. The irony, as I see it, is that most people who are in favor of immigration restrictions are also the ones who claim to be strongly in favor of private property rights. And immigration restrictions are, simply put, blatantly anti-private property. Here's an example. One thing I often hear from anti-immigration people, or as they like to be called, anti-illegal immigration, is that they're stealing our jobs. But really? Are you so sure that it's your job? Even if you're actually working in the job, the business owner can fire you anytime he wants. So he's the one who actually owns the job, not you. Unless you're self-employed, you don't actually own your job. And for people who are referring to jobs in businesses that they're not part of, well, that's just another form of collectivism, thinking that they have some kind of say over or right to a job that they have nothing to do with. If a private business owner decides he wants to bring somebody in from outside the country to work at his company, then for the federal government or a state government to put any limitations or restrictions on that is violating his private property rights. Well, fine, so he has a place to work, but where's he gonna live? That's just another private property issue. If someone owns a house or apartment building and wants to rent out to somebody coming in from outside the country, who is the government to violate their private property rights by saying who can or cannot be on their property? For all you people who are in favor of restrictions on immigration, illegal or not, I ask you to consider the question: are you really in favor of private property rights? Speaking of immigration, I met a guy today from South Africa who stopped his car a few hundred feet ahead of me, then crossed the road and actually walked back to meet me. In the course of talking to him, he told me that he's going to have to fly back to South Africa in a few months to get his visa renewed. I'm sure he'll enjoy visiting his family and friends back in South Africa. But if the main purpose for his trip to fly back to South Africa is to get his visa renewed, as it sounded like, then what a waste of money and resources that is that he has to do that, which could be better spent elsewhere. I didn't quite reach 20 miles today. Here's my current position. This is Will Buchanan for blog.walkforliberty.com, signing off. Horse, 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 and sheep.